Last week, my daughter had to go to a special 3-year-old kind of checkup thing. And rather than it just being at your local doctor, and you could just go and get paperwork filled out, they ask everybody in the local community, the small town that we live in, to come, if they have a 3-year-old, to come to the city hall and wait for 3 hours, which is really fun with the 3-year-old, to wait 3 hours while they kind of weave you through the different obstacle courses of checkups. There was about 8 different stations, I think. Everybody just kind of hangs out on the play mats and does their thing and waits until they get called for the different sections. They want you to do a pee check. They want, while you're there, talk about pressure, right? They want you to do that. They want you to have your kid check their height and weight. Then they also check, doctor is there to check just basics, listen to your heartbeat and stuff like that. Then there's a dentist there, and he checked your teeth. And if you had some problems, then the dentists, dental hygienists were there to help kind of talk you through individually steps and tips of how to brush the teeth better. And then, is that 5? And then we also had to talk to a nutritionist who would talk to us about what kinds of foods we're feeding our children. And this is all one-on-one. It's not as a big group. So they ask, specific questions. We had to write down what she ate the day before, all those kinds of things. And they kind of talk about, well, you're kind of lacking on your dairy foods. You need to make sure she gets more dairy, those kinds of things. And then there also was a basic kind of time where they kind of did some developmental kind of questions to see, if they could understand basic questions like what color is this, what animal is this, stack up the blocks into a big tower, those kinds of things. And also then a sight check and a listening check. And the general idea for the sight and listening was that they actually even gave you these little cards to do at home, because obviously doing sight and listening, especially listening, is kind of hard with all those people there. So we practiced at home. I was supposed to whisper to her across the table, where's the dog? And she was supposed to be able to hear that and then point to the dog. And the sight thing, it was like just a letter C, and we were supposed to have her stand so many feet away from us and then say, okay, which way is the C pointing? The hole, or basically like an O with a hole through it. Is it pointing up, to the left, right, and down? And then there was a smaller version too, and we were supposed to kind of check to see, if she could see or not. So, but all those things, which are incredibly, incredibly important, obviously. But all those things were really important to do, and we had to sit there, and literally, seriously, it was almost 3.5 hours that we waited as they kind of went through all of us. And there was maybe 30 of us, I'd say, or maybe 40. And you could kind of get an idea of who are going to be her classmates, when she goes into school, because all those people are the people who are going to be going to go into the same elementary school as my daughter when they become 6 or 7 years old. So, it was kind of, frustrating time, I think, for me. I'm not usually part of the circles of groups of friends of people just because, I'm a white girl in the room. So people are perfectly nice to you and say hi, but there's already little cliques of people forming, of course, and stuff. But and my daughter was so scared, so she was super, super shy and clinging to me the whole time, and that's always a little frustrating. But so that's part of one of the things you're expected to do, of course, when you're here. You're also, of course, expected to get immunization shots, but Japan is a lot more lenient about shots in the sense that they don't make you do ones that they think are really unnecessary. So, for example, there are a few kids I know who've had mumps here, and I don't know very many kids in the States that even get that. There's a chance that you might get it before you get your shot, and if you don't want to get your shot, you don't have to. There's a whole lot of thinking that you shouldn't put too much of that foreign stuff into your body, especially if you're a little kid. I remember thinking it was so funny because when we moved to the States for a few years, when we lived in DC, my daughter needed to catch up her immunization so that she could go to preschool. And when we went, the doctor's like, okay, you need this, 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 and this. And so they just did one in each arm and one in each butt cheek, and we were done in one day. But she was pumped full of immunizations, like 4 all at once, which was totally fine. But you say that people here, and people practically pass out. They're so surprised. Usually really major immunizations like influenza shots are broken into 2 parts, so you have to find time to go to the doctor 2 times so that you can complete this cycle for the shot. So that part can be a little frustrating because there's a lot of different pieces to it. They kind of draw it out a lot. And something like chicken pox is not required at all. You can just either wait until they get it, or you can get the shot. But then if you want the shot and it's not required, it costs like $100 to get it. Whereas if it's a required shot, they're free. You don't have to pay anything for those. So kind of a little different. And we keep all of that information in what we call a bostecho. And this is the child kind of book for your kid. And every town gives you one. This is kind of like the... you get this right when you know you're pregnant, and it's really in my name, but then it's for my daughter. And I have 2 of them, one for each of my kids. And it's kind of like the seal on the certificate that you're actually going to have a baby. Once you know everything is kind of going good, you get one of these, and a big packet of information telling you, congratulations, I'm going to have a baby and all these things. And yeah, then once you know and your baby's born, so all the information about being pregnant is in here, all the different stats of all that, and then everything once the baby is born. And all the way up until they are 6 years old, you have to keep this. And this is where you keep track of all of their teeth information, their height and weight information, any immunization that they get. The record is stamped in here. So this is like your lifeblood. You have to have this with you all the time. But the thing I love about this system in Japan is that this means we have her vital records with us all the time. It's not like in the States where you have to pay money and wait, you know, and go through all this pain in the butt to try to get the stupid doctor office that you go to release information about your kid. So, you know, when she goes to school, we just show this, or we gather the information from this. We don't have to go through this big ordeal about stuff. So it's always nice to kind of know right offhand, okay, when did she do that? When did she get that shot? Oh, well, how much did she weigh last year? It's just right here. Super nice, easy to use information. So that's kind of a thing, I think, that, you know, being here in Japan where there's nationalized medicine is one of the really good pluses to that, is that you have to always have that for all your kids, but it's also a really nice place to keep information. Now, I know most moms, of course, if you don't have one of these, you usually have some place where you keep information like that anyway, but sometimes it gets scattered. It becomes a feeling like it's not really essential, so maybe it gets tucked away into a drawer and you forget which drawer, those kinds of things. Whereas this is, you know, something you have to carry with you when you go to the doctor all the time, so we're always used to where it is all the time. So